Sorry.
You sort of hinted at it. You know, one of the things that has made our show relevant is that it's a very in-between show for a very in-between time. And we find ourselves juggling sentiments that, you know, as far as racial and culturally, you know, existed 50 years ago, 200 years ago.
Yeah.
There are things that just plain and simply haven't changed. And so on one hand, we have to address those things. And then there are things that we have to address are different. We have a president of color now. So, yeah. You know, we find ourselves, and being of mixed race ourselves, we find ourselves doing, taking advantage of the fact that sketch, we get to go to all these different places.
Right.
And in one way is to do cultural stuff and not to do social stuff, racial material, and stuff that's colorblind.
Yeah, just to reiterate what Jordan said, the most revolutionary scenes are scenes like Les Mis.
Yes, exactly.
That's the revolutionary scene.
Yeah.
But it's 18th century. How? But they're black. When you let that, you know what I mean? How can they be black? 18th century. When you let that go,
yeah.
Then you're dealing with a 21st century mind.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Because the thing is, what's amazing about our show is the myriad amount of times that 57-year-old white men have come up to us and tell us how much they enjoyed the show because their son turned them on to it.
Yeah.
Their son is probably 17 or 23, and he lives in an enormously different world than this guy that lives in. And so that's that in-between that Jordan's speaking of.
But that's the revolutionary thing, I think. It reminds me of the very first Richard Pryor concert film. It has very little, if you watch it again, it has very much more to do with being a human being in a world that has racism in it, rather than being about a black guy in a world with racism in it. So that a Martian could come down and watch that movie and go, oh, that's how things work in America.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah. And I think that your show with that, a sketch like that, or especially the horror movie episode that almost had nothing to do with race. It just had to do with, you guys watch a lot of horror movies and go, why does this silly shit keep happening? You know, that was in itself was also very revolutionary. You are still, we are just as assaulted by pop culture as we are by race, by sexism, by all that stuff, and that affects us as well.